أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الخلق والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, welcome to another short talk of Ramadan. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us our fasting, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to magnify our rewards during this month. And then we are still on the theme of the Muslim family. Today I want to share with you a story from Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. We talk a lot about how our children should be good to us. We talk a lot about the obligations of children towards their parents. But it's important to know that parents have an obligation towards their children. And we touched on that earlier in the month. But I want to share with you a story specific to that issue tonight. This story happened to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu. A man came to him and he said, "My son is disobeying me. My son is not fulfilling his rights towards me. My son is mistreating me." He said, how is that? He said, "Well, I tell him something, he does the opposite. I tell him this, he doesn't do it. Everything I tell him, he opposes me." SubhanAllah. Does that sound familiar? Sometimes it seems that our children want to do that, right? We tell them something, they want to do the opposite. We tell them something, they think they know better, so forth and so on. So this man came to Umar ibn al-Khattab and he complained to him about that. So Umar ibn al-Khattab brought the young man. He said, "Come here. Why are you doing this to your father? Your father, you should listen, respect your father. You should treat your father kindly. You should listen to what he tells you to do." The young man said, "Amir al-Mu'mineen, O leader of the faithful, you need to listen to my side of the story." He said, "What side? You are obligated to listen to your..." He said, "No, you need to listen. My father mistreated me before I mistreated him." He said, "Well, how is that?" He said, "Ya Umar, what is the obligation of a father upon his son? What is the obligation of a father upon his son?" So the son has rights and the father has a certain obligation towards his son. So he said, "What are those obligations?" He asked the Khalifa, "What are the obligations?" Umar said, "There are 3 obligations. The first one, أن ينتقي له أما صالحة, that he choose for him a pious mother. Choose a mother who is pious. Try to marry someone who you can envision is going to be the mother of your children. You want somebody who is a believer like you, someone who follows the path of Islam, who's going to be able to teach your children your faith." The second one, أن ينتقي له اسما حسن, that he choose a good name for him. Not a bad name, but choose a nice name. He said, and the third one, أن يعلمه القرآن, that he teaches him Quran. Now teaching Quran doesn't mean just to teach him how to memorize or just how to read, but to teach him the meaning of the Quran, the lessons of the Quran, the instructions of the Quran, the commandments in the Quran, the prohibitions in the Quran, all that the Quran is. And the Quran is, of course, magnificent. But that's the obligation of a father upon his son. This son, this young man, he looked at Umar ibn al-Khattab and he said, "My father, he married a woman who was a Majus. Majus is an unbeliever. Zoroastrian. She doesn't believe in God. I mean, how is she going to raise him as a Muslim? His mother is..." He didn't choose the proper mother for him. وَسَمَّانِي عَجَل. He named me Ajal. Ajal means a beetle. It's khunfusa in Arabic. It's an insect. Imagine it. Who names his son an insect? I mean, that's ridiculous. But that's what he named his son. وَلَمْ يُعَلِّمُنِي حَرْفًا مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. And he didn't even teach me one letter of the Quran. Subhanallah. This father failed in all 3 obligations. It's truly amazing. Umar ibn al-Khattab, when he heard this, he was astounded. How can this be? He looked at the man who came to complain about his son and he said, لَقَدْ عَقَقْتَهُ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَعَقَّكَ. You mistreated him before he mistreated you. You failed your obligation before he failed his. You know, you have to set the stage, okay? If you want your kids to to follow your guidance and your instructions, then you need to raise them the right way. You need to fulfill your obligations towards them. Make sure. This starts before they even come into existence. Your choice of a spouse. To the young men out there who are trying to get married, be careful. I hear this all the time from young men who decide to marry a non-Muslim woman. What's going to happen to your kids? I'm not saying it's haram. It is halal to marry a Christian or Jewish woman. I will never say anything that Allah says is halal and the Quran won't say it's haram. But think about the children and your obligation towards them. Who is going to raise them as Muslims? I hear this all the time. Oh, she's willing to teach them the Quran. How can someone teach something they don't believe in or they don't even know? It's so difficult to do that. Even Muslims have a hard time teaching it. How is somebody who's completely detached going to be able to fulfill that obligation? Be careful who you marry. Think carefully about your children. You have an obligation towards them. Choose a name that suits them. I hear a lot of Muslims today, oh, I want to choose a name that's easy in my culture and easy in the American culture. So they will start to choose names that work kind of both. Why is that? Don't discard name, whatever your culture is, whether it's Arab or Asian or whatever it may be, or African. No. Choose names that have a history. Names, the Prophet ﷺ said the best names are those related to Muhammad and Abdullah. Those are the best names. Abdul Haq, Abdul Ghani, whatever it may be. Any Abd, ma hummida wa ubbid. Muhammad, Ahmad, those are the best names. Don't go searching for a name that will be easy in American society or in this society or in that society. Don't worry, they will learn. Eventually they will learn our names. But have that sense of pride develop in your son, that he is named after something significant. It's not just a name of convenience. He has a name that has meaning, a name that has history behind it, a name that has a legacy attached to it, a name that was recommended by none other than the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the kind of personality and pride that you want to foster. A person's name is so critical because we identify by our names. It's who we are. That's why Umar said one of the obligations is to choose a good name for your son. And the third one is a big one, to teach him the Quran. It's not easy. Not easy. You can't teach something you don't know yourself. So before you teach your son, you need to learn. And you know what you're going to say? Well, I'll hire someone who knows the Quran. I can hire a teacher. Yes, you can. That teacher will teach them how to read it. Will teach them how to memorize it. But will not teach them how to live the Quran. When he said يُعَلِّمُهُ الْقُرْآن, doesn't mean just to read and memorize, but to live the Quran. When you learn something, you have to embody what you learned in real life. In order to do that, you have to live the Quran. You can't sit there and lecture to your son, oh, this is what the Quran says, but you yourself ignore those lectures. How can you do that? It doesn't work. The sons and daughters will see through hypocrisy immediately. Be careful. You have to repair yourself first and live the life of the Quran. To the fathers out there, do not forget the obligations you have towards your children. And when we say towards sons, doesn't mean only sons, but also daughters. Choose a name for your daughter that is suitable. There are beautiful Islamic names for our daughters. So many beautiful names. A lot of people choose the route of an easy name, a convenient name for the society we live in. Why is that? Why is that? Many African Americans who are not Muslim, they still choose African names. Because it's a symbol of their pride in who they are and their background and their ethnicity and their race. We should have that same pride as Muslims. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.